Robinhood certainly has its flaws, but at the same time, it has opened up financial markets trading to a group of people, a large group of people that previously did not have such access. Do you worry that your complaint risks closing it or limiting it to that group of people?
Not at all. I think what we really want to make sure is that these people are treated fairly. We do not believe they are. They're basically having the experience of trading, but it's a reckless experience because of the way that Robinhood has treated them. It's marketing themselves itself to them as a device by which they can become wealthy without having the expertise or the skill. Clearly, the practices that we outline in our complaint are dishonest and unethical, and those are things that we will not tolerate in Massachusetts. We also believe that they violate our state's fiduciary rule. They're clearly not putting their customers first. The fact that, as you noted in the lead to this piece, the number of outages, they've had over 70 outages this year. But the worst aspect of what they do clearly is the way they're gamifying the idea of investing. They're taking unsophisticated investors, most of whom have no experience, and basically making this into a game, causing them to suffer losses. They're bringing them aboard on something that these people absolutely have no idea about. In fact, they violated their own rules, the company's own rules on trading options. So it's very clear that this is a very reckless company when it comes to these investors. They're interested in expanding their market base. They're not interested in serving their investors.
At the same time, Secretary, this is often a younger generation. When you say gamification, this is a generation that has been brought up on social media with some of these tendencies. What changes do you want to see? Do you want to see that taken completely out of the app, or are there ways that they can tweak this in a way that you think would be more responsible to their investors?
Well, clearly, the most important thing is that they be more responsible. Can they manage to do both? We would hope they could. But if they're going to remain in business, certainly in this state, I think it's very important that they address these very fundamental flaws in their approach. For instance, you noted again in the piece the raining of confetti, the fact that you're rewarded for frequent trades, the fact that there's no examination of suitability. These are all aspects of their business model that are totally unacceptable.
Speaking of other states and regulators, how much coordination did you consider in filing this complaint? Why would this be better off as a joint effort amongst different states in coordination with the SEC, or is that still in the works?
Well, we certainly welcome any other state to do what they've done. We had complaints from Massachusetts investors, which led us to do this. We also, obviously, based on have a history of consumer protection. For instance, the fiduciary rule is here in Massachusetts, and it's not in most other jurisdictions. We are operating in the interest of our Massachusetts investors and residents. We do think it's a national problem. We're seeing, in fact, some of the frothiness in the marketplace itself is caused by this type of activity that is being encouraged by Robinhood. People who really don't know what they're doing, investing in things they don't really understand and taking a significant risk of loss. There's a hurt to the overall market as well. But the immediate interest that we have is helping our Massachusetts investors, protecting them from exploitation, and making sure that when they invest, they realize it's a serious use of their own money with the hope of getting more.
Mr. Secretary, I understand that Massachusetts has this fiduciary rule, but do there need to be further rules, clearer regulations specifically for entities like Robinhood? Because it seems to me like with this technology regime that we're in right now, it's pretty open to interpretation exactly how that applies to a business like Robinhood.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there does need to be, the national marketplace needs to have better guidance and better rules. But at this point, we can only deal with what we have. We have a change of administration coming, obviously. But more than that, it's more important than there's an immediacy to getting this done.
So then what's the fix?
As you saw,
what can Robinhood do in the near term to address your concerns?
The fix is that they stop engaging in some of the practices we outline in our complaint. The reality is the pandemic has contributed to their growth. People operating remotely from their homes, being easier to reach, more enticed to go online with this, to engage in whether it's day trading or anything else. It's not sophisticated trading. They have taken an audience of very unsophisticated persons and exploited them. That's the reality of the situation. Does there need to be a national fix on this? Yes, there does. But we're not going to wait for that here in Massachusetts.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.